Hi there, everyone. This is the developer of Photopilot speaking, and today I'm going to walk you through the process of setting up the backend on a Raspberry Pi. Even if you're somebody who's new to technology, there's nothing for you to worry about. I will walk you through the entire process step by step, and there will be resources available to help you in case you ever get stuck somewhere. With that being said, let's get started. So the first thing you're gonna need is a Raspberry Pi board. So let's go over to the Raspberry Pi website, which I have opened here, and go to the hardware section. For those who don't know, a Raspberry Pi is what is known as an SBC or single board computer. And what makes these special is the fact that they're very tiny, they're robust, they can do everything that your desktop or laptop can, but they have very little power draw and need very little maintenance. So you can, in essence, set it and forget it. And that's why we're choosing this as the host for our backend. But you can use any desktop or laptop as well. As you can see on this page, there's a bunch of different available options. So, which one should you choose? The latest and most powerful board as of April 7th, 2025 is the Pi Fi, starting at $50. But we don't necessarily need so much power, so we can choose a cheaper one as well. And for the requirements that we have, a Pi Model 3B Plus should be sufficient. But that being said, the steps that you need to follow to set this up on any of the other boards is the same. I'm going to click on more info and buy now. Here you can choose your country and select the retailer of your choice. But this will only get you the board unless you get a kit. There's a few other things that you will need, which I have listed out over here. So here we are with the full checklist. We'll need a Raspberry Pi board. We'll need a micro SD card to install the operating system on. The faster, the better. We'll need a micro USB power supply, which is going to power the board using this port over here. We need a monitor or TV with HDMI input so we can see if everything is installed correctly after setting up the board. We need an HDMI cable to connect the TV to the Raspberry Pi. We need a USB keyboard and mouse. A case is highly recommended to protect your device, and obviously we'll need a separate computer and an SD card reader to install the operating system on the memory card. Now, if this sounds like it's a lot, which it is, you can get one of these student kits that is available, such as this one, or on the page where you get the Raspberry Pi, you can also find these suggestions here, which are helpful to easily get all of the things that you need. All that being said, if you are an advanced user or if you are a budget conscious user, you can get by with not getting some of these things. You can get by with only the board, the case, the SD card, and the power adapter. So, assuming that you have the four main components that we just talked about, which is the board, the case, the card, and the adapter, we can move forward with the next step, which is to install the operating system on the micro SD card. To do that, we're going to go back on the Raspberry Pi website, which I have opened over here, and go to the software tab. Here we can scroll down and download the Raspberry Pi imager, which is going to install the software on the card. You can get this for Ubuntu, Windows, or Mac OS. They've also provided a handy command that you can run in the terminal for Ubuntu based distributions. So the next thing I'm going to do is plug in my micro SD card, which I have just done. And once that is done, we can open up the Raspberry Pi imager. So I'm just going to write imager. Here we have it, and we can proceed with the installation of the software. Let's choose the device. For me it is the Pi 3B plus, so this one. Choose the operating system. um I am going to go with the recommended Raspberry Pi OS 64-bit. There's a bunch of other options here that you can go through. We're going to select this, and finally we're going to choose storage, and here we have a Transcend 32 GB card. Okay, next. So it's going to ask you if you'd like to apply OS customization settings. Why, yes, I would. Let's edit the settings. Set host name, let's do that. I'm gonna leave mine as Pi, this is too long. Set the username and password. Username is fine, password can be hello for now. Configure wireless LAN, yes, it's gonna choose my default network and password. um I don't usually choose LAN country, I don't care. Set locale settings, sure. Let's go to services. We need to enable SSH, and we can leave it as use password authentication. And we can go to the options. These things don't need to be messed with. So I'm going to click save. And yes. Are you sure you want to continue? All your data will be erased. Yes. There we go. And we'll wait while this gets completed. So, congratulations, it's done. You can now remove the SD card from the reader. Okay, and we can move on to plugging it in to the Raspberry Pi and booting it up for the first time. Let's go. Hi folks, welcome to my workshop. This is my Pi. As you can see, I've put it in a good case because I like to take care of my things and make sure they last for a long time. This is many years old and it still works perfectly. Here's the micro SD card where we just installed Raspbian. I'm going to carefully put it in the card slot. Here we go. Okay. And all we need, you can install a LAN cable and connect it to your router if you need, but since we put in the Wi-Fi details, I don't think that'll be required. All we're gonna do now is plug in the power cable. Okay, just 1 second. There, okay. And those lights show that it is now working. Hopefully when I try to reach it from my computer, it's just going to work. I guess we'll see. That's about it. So we're back on our desktop, and now we need to connect to our newly minted Raspberry Pi OS. And to do that, we'll need to connect using the SSH protocol. Now on Linux, it's easy to use this. All you need to do is type it out in the terminal. But for Windows users, you need to download a software like Putty SSH, which is something that can help you connect to your Raspberry Pi if you're using Windows. And to use it on both Windows and Linux is pretty much the same. You need to know the IP address though. And if my Pi is working correctly, if I go into the backend of my router, I should be able to see the IP address of my Raspberry Pi, and here it is. So it's 192.168.1.222. So the command that I'm going to write out here, and that you would write out in Putty. over here, like all you need to do is put in the IP address and leave everything the same and click open. On Linux we need to write SSH username at 192. Okay, are you sure you want to continue? Yes. And the password, if you remember, was hello. So I typed that and we're in. Now we need to install the backend. And what is the backend? The backend is an incredible free and open source software known as CircsNG. If you just Google it, you'll probably find the GitHub repo first. Let's open it up. What CircsNG is a privacy respecting hackable meta search engine. Now what meta search engine means is that this software is going to query on your behalf a bunch of search engines like Google, like Bing, and it's going to bring back all of the results as a nice JSON which you can use as you please. Without this software, Photopilot would not be possible. So I really want to thank all of these contributors who have made this possible. And as a token of appreciation, and because my software relies so heavily on CircsNG, I'll be sure to verifiably donate part of the proceeds to CircsNG so they can continue developing and so they can get paid for the time that they're putting in. And honestly, they do deserve to be paid well. Down here, we can look at how to set it up, and they have a very well maintained Docker image, and we're gonna open it up. So the real beauty of using Docker for this is that once you set up Docker on any system, which is really easy to do, let's open that in the new tab. The instructions are pretty much the same and very simple. It should take like 5 minutes. So let's install Docker on our Raspberry Pi. So let's look for, if you have Windows, obviously Windows. If you have Mac, obviously Mac. Let's go for Linux because we have to do it on our Raspberry Pi running Linux. Okay, so I tried installing Docker a bunch of ways. I tried to follow the tutorial here. I tried to use Gemini, but all that was turning out to be too much of a hassle. So I just searched install Docker Raspberry Pi, clicked on the first link, and here there's a very simple command that you can run to install Docker. So I've currently run this in the terminal on my Pi over here, as you can see, and it seems to be doing its job. So see you in a bit. After that we have to run this one, so I'll just keep that copied and we're good to go. Alright, the process is completed. I'm gonna paste my second command and I think we're done. To check if Docker's running, we should run sudo okay, it's working. Now we need to go back to Circs Docker and look at the steps. So install Docker is done. Now let's change directory, clone, and change directory again. You can just copy and paste this. Oh, Git needs elevated privileges, so I'm just going to do sudo git clone. Okay, let's go into that directory by typing cd. Now we have to edit the environment file to set the host name and email. I don't think we need to do this because we're running this locally, so we can ignore that, and generate the secret key. So for us, this is the command. For Windows, we have a command down below here, so let's do this. We need to use sudo before it. Alright. Edit settings according to your needs. We don't have many needs, but I am going to copy this and search online. We're gonna open the first link. I'm looking for the file where all of the settings are, so I can see what I want to choose. Okay, here we are. So we need to add a few things to the settings. So since I'm making this for beginners, I'm going to use a text editor called Nano. So I'm going to write Nano Circs. You can tab to autocomplete. Okay, so I didn't add sudo here, so we need to redo this. Sudo nano circs ng. Here, let's turn the limiter off. False. Search. You can just follow what I'm doing. Tab auto. Oops. Save search 0. Formats. Double tab. This is here. HTML. And JSON, and we can type Control X and then Y and then enter, and we've just edited our settings successfully. The next thing we're looking at is, on the first run you must remove cap drop all from the Docker Compose file. We'll do this in a moment. And finally, there's one method with caddy included, recommended for beginners, and then the second one is bring your own reverse proxy. So the thing is, because we're going to be using this locally, it's better for us to use method 2. So that's what we're going to do. Remove the caddy related parts, pointer reverse proxy, generate and configure, etc. We don't really need to look at that. I'll show you how it's done. So what we're going to do is we need to remove all of this, the whole caddy section. Okay, now we need to go to search section and remove cap drop all. So there we go, that is removed. As we can see, it's going to be run on port 8080. So let's save and exit, and let's try running this command now. Docker compose up D. Moment of truth. Oops, I think we need to use sudo So the command has just finished running, and if everything is working, we should be able to visit 192.168.1.222:8080, and it's not working. So the first thing we need to do is run sudo docker compose down to take it down first. Okay, we also see an error here. We need to remove versions, so we also do that while we're at it. So sudo nano docker compose, and let's remove this. We're gonna go down now. Here, I think we need to change this to our IP address. Okay, let's save this and super docker compose up. We won't be adding -d this time, just watch. The reason I'm leaving the errors in is so you know that things always don't work out as expected. Sometimes you have to do your own thing and figure it out. Okay, I think we should be able to go here and maybe this will run. And there you have it. It is running successfully. But as soon as I press Control C, it's gonna stop. And even if you shut the Raspberry Pi down or restart it or something, it's gonna stop. So the next thing we need to do is we need to turn this into a service. And let's see how to do that. So we need to first run this command. So let's do that first. I'm not gonna forget sudo this time. Paste. Okay. Now let's edit the service file. We just need to take a look at it before we move on. So let's go sudo nano circng docker.service. Okay, here I've had issues with the working directory is correct. The exec start and exec stop are pointing to a different location for Docker. So I'm just going to exit and find out where my Docker binary is stored. So it's user bin docker, and here is user bin local user local bin docker. So we'll get rid of local over here. Okay, save, and I think we can run systemctl enable and systemctl start. So oops, I think sudo and sudo let's see if it's working. It's working fine. Let's test it. Hello. Well, there you go. So we're running it locally and everything's working perfectly. Now even if you shut down your Raspberry Pi, restart it, whatever, it's just going to work. Now we need to look at how to set up the next steps on our app. Okay, here we are. Let's go to settings and find this section. I have already set up circng and would like to enter the URL. I am going to put in my http 192.168.1.222 port 8080 and test and save. Okay, everything is working, so we're good to go. Let's test it out. And we're good. So there we have it. That's the whole thing, start to finish. I hope it wasn't too much, and thank you guys for your patience and for giving this software a shot. I've put in 1 year worth of work to make it, and I hope it's worth it. And I hope I can make a lot of money using it. Okay, so I'll see you later. If you run into any trouble, please feel free to contact me. And goodbye.